I'm attorney Mitchell Garabedian. I've been representing victims of clergy sexual abuse for almost 20 years throughout the world. To my right is Bassam Haddad, B-A-S-S-A-M-H-A-D-D-A-D. He's a victim of Father Ross Frey of the Lebanese Melkite Catholic Church. Father Ross Frey is currently in Lebanon, where he cannot be extradited. To my left is Jerry Sipek, a victim of Father Paul Hightower of the Nazareth School for Children. Jerry was sexually molested as a child at the Nazareth School for Children. Jerry was sexually molested when he was approximately 6 to 8 years old, and he's currently 51 years old. Bassam was sexually abused when he was 14 to 18 years old, and he's currently 40 years old. They're here to give their reaction to the UN Commission's report concerning child abuse within the Vatican. And let me say a few comments first. With regard to that report, it's deficient in the sense that it does not discuss the thousands of suicides committed by children who were sexually molested by priests, while enablers, such as supervisors, turn their backs on those children. But the report is a step in the right direction. The report is accurate in stating, in so many words, that the secrecy of clergy sexual abuse must end. There must be transparency with regard to clergy sexual abuse so that accountability can prevail. Accountability will allow some victims to at least heal a little bit. It will allow them to gain a certain degree of closure. We've all heard very kind words from Pope Francis, and he has put a positive spin on what he intends to do. But Pope Francis really does not need any more. Pope Francis does not need a council to investigate clergy sexual abuse. Clergy sexual abuse within the Catholic Church, according to the UN Commission's report, has been around for decades, with tens of thousands of children sexually molested. All Pope Francis has to do is pick up the phone, give me a call, and I'll have him speak to victims of clergy sexual abuse. And I say that respectfully. And when he sits down and speaks to victims of clergy sexual abuse, he can understand the trauma of clergy sexual abuse, how it was allowed to happen, and why it should not exist at all. It's time for clergy sexual abuse to end. Unfortunately, there is no end in sight. Victims are coming in, contacting me constantly. I currently represent victims who have been sexually molested in at least 10 countries. Whether you're talking about Cameroon, Jamaica, Liberia, Burkina Faso, Haiti, United States, of course, Canada, from around the world. Because of the internet age, I receive contacts or communications from victims of clergy sexual abuse. All who have been sexually molested by priests or brothers or nuns within the Catholic Church. How do we handle this? How should this be treated? The pedophiles within the Catholic Church should be treated like as any other criminals, and they should have to proceed with the criminal courts so that charges are brought against them and they are prosecuted. And where possible, their enablers, the supervisors, the bishops, the monsignors, the chancellors, the vice chancellors should also be prosecuted under the criminal laws. They're criminals. And what they're doing is criminal. They destroy individuals, they destroy children, they destroy families, and they destroy a fabric of society in allowing clergy sexual abuse to occur. They are enablers, and it must be stopped. I'll let Gerald Sipek say a few words. We can switch seats if you want.
No, it's okay. It's easier to do this. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The when I came forward, what's his name? Bassam and I were speaking a couple minutes ago out in the hall, and it's the first time we have met. And my first question for him was, "So, how many times have you tried to commit suicide? And his response was, you don't want to know. I've been there 6, 7 times, and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. I don't care how much money they give you. I came to Mitchell Garabedian because I wanted him to know that he missed one little piece, and that was the orphanages. I wasn't out for money. I wanted to get it off my chest to somebody who might understand. But there are thousands and thousands of people that are still scared to death to come forward. I was almost 40 when I finally came forward, and I'd been living with it ever since. I'd been in jail before. I'd been arrested God knows how many times, and I spoke with Bassam, and he said basically the same story. How many other people are out there, and we're still paying the price? Even though I've come forward, I still pay the price. But to my opinion, the Vatican should be not just to be held accountable, but they should be. That's crimes against humanity. They've ruined people's lives and continue to ruin their lives. He and I will never live a normal life ever, ever, and it's unfortunate because even today, I go out and I feel like I don't live in the same world as everybody else. I don't belong here. The tables have been mine is an uphill battle just to get through a day, and unfortunately that's a lot of reason people don't come forward, because they're scared to death, because they're going to be looked at as monsters when they're not the monsters, but they think they are. Even today I tell my sister, I look in the mirror, when I look into a mirror, and I see a monster looking back at me. And that's something the church created, not me. And I still can't get that. I can't wrap my head around that. So I really believe that they should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, not just the children, but humanity itself, because they're ruining generations and generations, and nobody that's been through it will ever live a normal life ever. Thank you.
How did you feel when you read the report? Were you surprised, shocked, or?
No, I was not shocked at all. But the Vatican will do exactly as they have since the beginning of time. They're going to drag their heels, and they will keep enabling these people until they die. And the thing is, when they get prosecuted, what happens? Or when they get dragged into jail or into court, they end up going into some home for priests that are in the same position. It's kind of like a country club, and somebody else picks up the tab for them, and then they're allowed to go back out and do whatever it is they do. So it's no surprise.
Would you like to meet Pope Francis and explain to him?
Yes,
the situation? I would. What would you say to him?
He's got to stop letting these people get away with it, because the church itself is covering up for them. They're out enabling them even today. They say that they've got a handle on it, but you know what? They've gotten smarter. They've got the internet now. It's so much easier now than before, when they actually had to meet them in person. Now it's so much easier. So, thank you very much.
Can I just ask, one of the things they say about this Vatican Defenders say is that they've made a great, unlike Europe and other parts of the world, they have made a great deal of progress in combating sex abuse.
No way. No way.
Obviously, you don't agree.
I don't think so.
Let me comment first, okay? Last year, I settled 24 cases in Haiti on behalf of children who were sexually molested at a Jesuit-run camp by Douglas Perlitz. Douglas Perlitz received almost a 20-year jail sentence. At least 20 of those 24 children were sexually molested after the National Catholic Conference of Bishops put their new norms in place in 2002 for the safety and protection of children. So the new norms were not implemented. It was just a bunch of words put down on a piece of paper. At least 20 of those 24 children were sexually molested at this Jesuit school, Society of Jesus school, Society of Jesus, right out of New England here. They were molested after the National Catholic Conference of Bishops put their new norms in place for the safety and protection of children. So it's just a bunch of words. There's no action behind it. Pope Francis has to act. We need more than just a bunch of nice words. It's not soothing to victims. It's insulting to victims. It's offensive to victims, the re-victimization of the victims. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
So when I came forward, it was about a little over 2 years ago. I came out and I told my wife the night before I went out and I had a really bad night. So the next morning when I woke up, I looked over at her and I told her, I said, look, you and I need to talk. So when I told her, she broke down, she started crying. I couldn't handle it anymore. I told her 25 years of this being, inside me and not telling anybody about it. Nobody knew except my wife now. She was the only person who knew. I told her, I said, it was like, holding, having to go to the bathroom for 25 years. Can you imagine how your body would feel like? That's how I felt on the inside. I was torn up. I couldn't tell anybody. I used to get into trouble all the time, and anybody who knows me can vouch for that. Nonstop, drugs, alcohol, fighting with people for no reason. Somebody would say something to me and I would snap because I had so much anger built up against this person, and I could never do anything because I was so young, and I couldn't say anything because I was so afraid. It was so tough for me to do it. Coming from the family I come from, strong Lebanese background. Both my parents are very Catholic, very religious. They everything in the world to them was going to church, work, and family. That's it. So it was tough for me to come out and tell, my wife that this happened to me, coming from the family I come from. So, after I told her, I contacted Mitchell, set up an interview to come in and meet with him, and I told him what had happened. He told me, you're not the only person that I'm representing from this, because of this person. So how fair is it to me now? The church sent him to Lebanon,
Where he can't be extradited.
Because America and Lebanon don't have a treaty. So now I'm stuck here, suffering. I've tried to commit suicide numerous times. How fair is that to me and my family? I have 2 sons, and now they're going to suffer because they're watching me suffer. It's tough on me. It's tough on my family. It's not fair. Now, this person is in Lebanon now doing whatever he wants to do while I'm here suffering and struggling, while he's over there knowing that he got away with murder.
Who sent him to Lebanon?
The Archdiocese.
The Archdiocese
The Lebanon,
of the Melkite Church.
the Catholic, the Lebanese Melkite Church is a Catholic church,
Yeah.
and they sent him to Lebanon. Bassam was interviewed, and they rejected his claim. And one reason they rejected his claim, they said, "Well, we really can't talk to Ross Frey right now, so we're not going, Father Ross Frey, so we're not going to honor your claim," which is very insulting. Ross Frey is a serial pedophile. He abused many children in the Methuen-Lawrence area for over decades, and he's now being basically protected in Lebanon. It's not enough that after the Catholic Church realizes they have a problem with the priest, and the priest is sexually molesting children after the enablers allowed the sexual molestation to occur, it's not enough to defrock the priest, because the priest is then in the neighborhood just sexually molesting kids, even though he's not a Catholic priest anymore. The criminal process has to take place, even the civil process, so that the crimes are prosecuted, so that the church is held accountable, the enablers are held accountable, and the pedophiles are held accountable, and ultimately society is made safer. And children who can't protect themselves are protected, because then the pedophiles will be in jail and the enablers will be in jail. It's just not enough to say, okay, we're going to throw him out of the church, you caught us. After allowing him to be sexually abused children for 30 or 40 years, you caught us, so we're going to throw him out of the church now. Yeah. He could be across the street.
Can I say something?
Say whatever you want.
This is what I definitely want to get this out. Every day you hear on the news of something happening where someone was raped or assaulted and whatever happened. And right away when, Boston PD, Cambridge, wherever it happened, they get the guy and he's prosecuted and put in jail. Now, why are these priests able to get away from everybody and not get prosecuted, not get put in jail, and not get charged with these crimes when it's the same exact thing? You know, there's no difference between somebody who does it on the street and somebody who does it inside a rectory of a church or a basement of a church or an office, wherever it happened. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it's not fair to us as victims that we have to suffer and let these people are getting away with it. So pretty much what the justice system is telling me, here's a slap in the face, we're not going to do anything to you. We're going to just let them get away with it. You know, if somebody's raped or killed on the street, they prosecute that person, he gets put in jail. It's the same exact thing as a priest. If a priest does what they've been doing, why can't they be prosecuted? Why is the church protecting them? Why are these people protected? I don't understand. And as a child, I never understood.
And you were deeply ingrained with religion.
Of course, my mother and my father. I have great uncles and aunts and people who are bishops, people who are priests, nuns. These are people who my great aunts, great uncles. My grandfather's brother was a priest. His other brother was a bishop. So we have a very Catholic family, very religious family. And for this to happen to me, and my family was blind. They didn't know what was going on. But. I want him prosecuted. I want him sent back to the United States. I want to face him. And to be honest with you, if I had my chance with him, it would be one of those celebrity matches between him and I would beat him. That's how angry I am. It's not fair to me.
Who's to say Ross Frey is not right now sexually abusing children in Lebanon? Who's watching him? Certainly when he was here in Massachusetts, he wasn't being watched properly. So what is he doing in Lebanon? Is he sexually molesting innocent children in Lebanon? Right now, in a priory in Peabody, Brother Damien Chong is living. And he works at a chapel in a mall, in the North Shore Mall in Peabody. He sexually molested children out in California. And they moved him across the country. And now he lives in a priory that has 60 children across the street from it in a kindergarten, a Carmelite kindergarten. And he works at a chapel in a mall in the North Shore Mall in Peabody, where he's in touch with children in the mall. Who is watching these pedophiles? The shell game has to end. Jerry, you want to say something?
I was just curious about something, and I was just thinking about something. This doesn't... this is the same church. They claim that they're taking steps. Well, I happen to know the man that started Road to Recovery. Now, let's be clear about this. This is the same church that's, if they're willing to assault their own priests, which they did to the man who is the head of Road to Recovery, Bob Hotzen, Father Bob Hotzen. If they're willing to attack him, what's to stop them from attacking children? Now, Bob Hotzen was a priest, and he left, and he was attacked by another priest. So, are you going to tell me the children are going to be perfectly safe, or they're going to take the steps to protect the children, and they can't even protect their own priests?
Hearing everything you're saying, I mean, do you take any solace in this UN panel attacking the Vatican? Is there anything good coming out of it?
I want to see them prosecuted.
Let him. What it does is it puts the Vatican on notice that there are people watching, but the problem is they don't care whether you're watching or not. Everything is done behind closed doors. Do you think the priest that was attacked by another priest, that happened out in the open? Of course not. That happened overnight at his home. What you don't see, what's behind closed doors, nobody has control over, and they will tell you. To my opinion, what the Vatican has done is they have just gotten smarter at covering their tracks. They've had time to deal with it, and that's all they're doing is covering their tracks. You can't possibly tell me that they've fixed it. Just a couple weeks ago, what was it, a month ago, they fired 400 priests or something like that, or got rid of 400 priests, or outed 400 priests.
By the Congregation of Doctrine of the Faith, which is the The Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith was their investigative body to investigate clergy sexual abuse claims. The head of the congregation was Pope Benedict, the Pope before Pope Francis. After he had headed that congregation, he then became Pope. So the very top is well familiar, very familiar with the clergy sexual abuse crisis, how it was created, how it exists, how it affects children, and how it destroys lives. It's time for the nonsense to end. We can't expect the Catholic Church to investigate themselves and put an end to this, to clergy sexual abuse. They've been allowing it to happen for decades. Tens of thousands of children have been allowing it to happen. Tens of thousands of children were sexually molested. We can't expect them to self-police. They're not capable of it. They're a kangaroo court. They're really interested in their image. Laws have to be changed so pedophile priests and enablers can be prosecuted. There has to be a truly independent organization, a governmental organization, to look at the records, to study the records, and to determine who should be prosecuted and why, so that child abuse ends. There is no end in sight. The victims who have been sexually molested within the past 10 or 15 or 20 years are just starting to come forward. Most of them are not coming forward now because they're too young. Their coping mechanisms will not allow them to come forward. People say to me, well, do you have any new clients over the past 10 years? No, it's too early. Children don't come forward till they grow up in their coping mechanisms. A lot of them come forward. Last year, a man, 87 years old, contacted me and he said, I've been carrying this around for 81 years. I was abused by a priest, a Catholic priest. I want to do something about it. Victims don't come forward till at least their early 30s, early 40s. Then they start to come forward. Laws have to be changed. The government has to act. It's time to put a stop to the wholesale sexual molestation of children by priests while their enablers, supervisors enable it to happen. In Boston, I obtained documentation indicating the Bernard Cardinal law allowed Father Gagan to be transferred to a church, even though he knew Father Gagan was a sexual predator, and in that church, Father Gagan continued to sexually molest children. I have had 149 claims substantiated against Father John J. Gagan in Boston. Anything else?
What I wanted to say too is the person that he was speaking of, Bob Holtzen, when he was a priest, the reason why he left is because he said that he saw other priests molesting kids, and when he went to the superiors and told them, they did nothing about it. And that's why he was attacked, and then he said, I'm done. I'm not going to sit here and watch these kids get molested, and you guys aren't going to do anything about it. So what I'm saying is, how can this happen, and then you go to a supervisor and you tell them, and nothing is done? How fair is that?
And that's not to say the supervisors aren't molesting either. Fred Ryan in Boston, Father Fred Ryan, was a vice chancellor of the Archdiocese of Boston, which is a higher up. And he was sexually molesting children. That's not to say the supervisors aren't sexually molesting children. Who's watching the predator supervisors? It's endless. The scenario is endless. I've had clients who were sexually molested by priests go to the supervisor to report it, and the supervisor would sexually molest a child. It's endless. You want to say anything? Yeah.
No, I'm just, I just want to see him get prosecuted. The laws need to change.
How would you feel if he was prosecuted?
I'd be happy. I want to see him rot in jail.
Would it help you heal?
It would help a little bit, yeah. I mean, I'd get that would be justice. Justice would be watching him sitting in a jail cell, and that's it for the rest of his life. Let him die in jail. He needs to be put in jail for the rest of his life. If you commit murder, you get sentenced to life in prison. If you molest children, you should be put in jail for life. They shouldn't not let him out. Never.
Jerry, do you have any closing comments?
They basically, you're right, because they've ruined your life. They've killed you. So therefore, and we've been working Mitchell, myself, and a few other people have been working, or several other groups have been working to change the laws in the state of Massachusetts to get rid of the statute of limitations, because that is murder. What they're doing is murdering children. And they're getting away with it because they're hiding behind the statute of limitations. In fact, when I settled, and I settled because we were very close to the statute of limitations, is that correct? And we have been working very hard to get rid of the statute of limitations because there is no statute of limitations on murder, but this is killing people. And, you know, they figure, oh, what is it now? What is the statute of limitations now, Mr. Garabay?
You are, in civil cases, it's 3 years as an adult when you connect the harm with the conduct. It's a very narrow statute. There are no statute of limitations in murder cases. There should be no statute of limitations in sexual molestation cases. The due process system works fine in murder cases. It should work the same way in sexual abuse cases. In Massachusetts, there is no statute of limitations in a murder case, and that rule should be applied to sexual abuse cases.
Now, what about rape?
Same thing.
So it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When the priest does what they do to a child, that's
there
rape.
should be no statute of limitations in rape cases, but there is.
Could you tell me, gentlemen, again, your names and your church affiliation?
My name is Bassam Haddad,
So
and
just the microphones.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I know you said at the beginning, but I just go ahead.
My name is Bassam Haddad, and I used to go
Spell
to.
it.
That's BASSAM, Haddad HADDAD, and I used to go to St. Joseph's in Lawrence. It's St. Joseph's Melkite Church.
Okay.
Lebanese Catholic
It's
Church.
a Lebanese Catholic. Yep, it's just like the Orthodox.
Okay.
And when were you abused?
Actually, it was 13 to 18, not 14 to 18.
Years. For years.
Yeah. So
And the-
5 years.
And the priest?
It was Father Ross Fry.
Frey. Basilian Salvatore and Basilian Fathers.
Okay, and he's been extradited, he's been sent to.
He's
Yes,
he's
he
in
took off.
Lebanon where
He
no one
just
can
left.
touch him.
Okay.
No, as soon as they found out, he heard somebody where he was staying at St. Basil's in Methuen. As soon as they found out that he did this, they let them know, and they transferred him right to Lebanon. They said that they sent him there so he can learn the language, because he's American, but he wanted to learn the Arabic language, which is complete crap. They sent him there so he doesn't get caught. That's the deal.
He never came back.
He's been in Lebanon since like 97, I think. 96 or 97, he disappeared.
Okay, and you, sir, could you just give me your name again and spelling?
It's Jerry Sypek, SYPEK.
Jerry?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the church you,
I was actually at the Catholic Home for Children.
Orphans, right?
Yeah, for orphans, yes. It was a Catholic orphanage, and unfortunately, they had 24/7 access to you.
where was that?
That was in Jamaica Plain.
Nazareth. Give it a name.
It was Nazareth. They've long since closed that. It's now what the Show Institute and British School for Boys in Boston. But they've closed that. Actually, they closed that in the early 80s after some more brothers were caught on film molesting little boys there.
Jerry was sexually molested by Father Paul Hightower, a well-known sexual molester. I've had at least 25 cases involving Father Paul Hightower.
And where is he?
He fortunately is dead.
Okay. He died just.
No, he was run over by a 17-year-old boy who chased him with his car into the woods. Which I thought was an appropriate end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And anybody who has half a brain knows there was something going on there.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you.
Just